Clear?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks so much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BACP Empower Hour. More importantly, the first one in the new year, 2024. I'm Ken Meyer, Commissioner of the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Our goal is to help businesses and consumers get the information they need to succeed by sharing advice and stories from Chicago entrepreneurs. It's a new year, and with that comes New Year's resolutions. For many of us, that includes cooking healthy meals. Today's guest is here to share how cooking classes can ignite the inner chef in all of us. I think I'd have to start with the can opener and the Campbell's soup. No kidding. Our guest is Lisa Counts, chef and owner of the Chopping Block. Welcome, Lisa. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello.
Hello, loud and clear. I appreciate that. Before we get into your business concept, please tell the attendees a little bit about yourself and how you got into cooking.
So I have been cooking ever since I can remember as a little girl. I think it was always my dream to become a chef. I knew right away, right after high school, I wanted to go to culinary school. I wanted to learn the ins and outs and all the techniques, more than what I was just taught by my wonderful mother. And after graduating from culinary school, I wanted to work with and for everybody that was famous here in Chicago because we have one of the best food scenes in the nation, in my opinion. And yeah, I've just always loved cooking. I've loved eating, and I've loved sharing that with other people.
That's great. That's great. Can you share the story of how the chopping block was created and also what's the significance behind the name?
Of course. So our original founder, Shelley Young, started this business back in 1997 with our original location on Webster Avenue. And it started as she just stumbled upon this vacant storefront, and she thought it would be the perfect location for her parents' struggling antique store in Iowa City. But unfortunately, they did not want to partake in that. So she decided to start her own antique cookware and cooking school out of that storefront. And the name stems from while she was working, brainstorming with some of her coworkers at the time, that as she was prepping for service, it kind of dawned on her that everything starts on the chopping block. And so it all starts with that knowledge, and that's what the chopping block does. We teach people how to cook, and that is our mission statement, to get this country cooking.
Oh, that's great. I actually remember that original location now that you mention it. Recently, you became the owner of the business after being with the chopping block for close to a decade. What led to your decision? That's a big difference when you kind of take something on, as the owner proprietor.
It definitely is a big change. Like I said, when I graduated culinary school when I was young, it was always my dream to own a restaurant. And I think throughout my experience of 16 years in the restaurant industry, that dream slowly started to change. And I honestly didn't think that I would ever own anything, nor did I want to. And after coming to the chopping block and finding my true home and my love of teaching and combining that with my favorite passion, which is cooking, I felt home. And that's why I worked for the company for so long. And so when the decision came, I was in talks with Shelley about what the future held and what that could look like. And it kind of felt natural to take over this position and really, kind of build on her legacy, so to speak. She had built such a solid foundation, and the chopping block really is an institution in the city. And I want to continue to grow that and, continue just teaching people how to cook, which is what I love to do.
That's great. The chopping block provides cooking classes. What type of meals are prepared? And I have a bunch of questions on my own on this. And what goes into deciding what recipes will be created?
That's a great question. So many different class offerings are out there on our website. We take in consideration seasonality. We have 4 seasons here in Chicago, so we really like to match the food appropriately throughout the year. But realistically, we really like to focus on the techniques because once a home cook can master the fundamentals, the techniques, and how to make something, the ingredients, the whatever you have on hand really doesn't matter. So the recipes kind of back into that technique. For example, if we wanted to teach you how to, sear or direct heat cooking, we can use a steak for that, or a pork chop or a chicken, and pair things accordingly. But we have everything from French classes, Italian classes, all sorts of world-laid cuisines, everything from pasta to pizza to breads is one of our most popular classes. And one of my favorite classes is our knife skills, because once you can feel comfortable and confident wielding your knife in your kitchen, nothing else matters.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Is you say that. I ran into a friend the other cold morning, I guess Wednesday, yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. And I said, "Oh my gosh, how did you survive the cold weekend?" He's like, "Oh, my wife and I, we cooked all day Sunday, and we both were chopping stuff up." And I don't know, we kind of got into this conversation, knowing that I was going to talk to you later in the week. And it was just interesting how, like, the meal prep and all the chopping and what have you actually took more time once they're making, I think, beef bouillon or some sort of fancy beef, and just all that prep. So it's interesting. I wonder, do people go into the chopping block looking for how do I make that more elaborate meal, or is it really like, how can I cook something that's really healthy when I'm getting home from the office or wrapping up for my office duties at my house, like in 15 minutes or under? I know sometimes there's a little bit of both. I wasn't sure how you guys kind of market both, teach both markets, I guess I should say.
Definitely. I mean, our customer base runs the gamut from I've never cooked a meal in my life to I've been cooking my whole life, right? So our classes and my staff of chef instructors really do try to cater to both within one class. We offer a wide variety of healthy eating classes, especially now during January. Everybody's on that trend. But also, we do have elaborate meals. So even if they come looking for that elaborate meal, they'll come away with tips and tricks that can help them in their everyday life, tricks to be a little more efficient with that prep work and things like that. But they can also take a really intensive class if they're really looking for everything that I ever learned in my culinary school experience. We have a culinary boot camp for that.
Oh, that's all. Wow, that's great. How long's the boot camp?
The boot camp is 5 days, 8 hours a day. So it
Oh,
runs from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or we do offer a 5 consecutive Saturdays series as well.
okay. Huh. Is there one that's better? Is it better just to be in there for 5 days, or is it better to kind of spread it out?
Well, everybody learns differently. I think immersing yourself in 5 days straight can be overwhelming, but it kind of builds day to day. Whereas consecutive Saturdays, you have the week to practice what you just learned and then come back and learn a new, technique and then practice. So they each have their pros.
And if I sign up for a class, how are you guys deciding what recipes are going to be created that day? What type of meals will be prepared? And I guess, how big is the class too?
Great question. So I have a wonderful curriculum department that I work with that, we build our class calendars a month in advance. So everything is live on our website for all of January and all of February right now, and March is about to publish soon. And so we try to mix our calendar with all sorts of offerings. So that way dates and times and specific skill sets are offered throughout the month to kind of get as many customers as we possibly can get. We generally run classes from Wednesday through Saturday, but we do offer some Mondays and Tuesdays here and there. And generally our classes are 2 hours to 3 hours for a normal like nighttime class. So they're usually from 6 to 8. And you can just go on our website, thechoppingblock.com, and sign up right there.
And tell us a little bit about your partnerships in terms of where you're getting the food from, if you're working with local farmers, going across the street to the grocery store.
Jeans is wonderful, and I will admit we run over there from time and time again to supplement our usual deliveries. But we work with wholesalers, mainly Chef's Warehouse for all of our produce and dry goods, and then branches off from there. They also have Allen Brothers Meat and Wabash Seafood. So that is where we get the bulk of all of our produce, but especially during the summertime, we work very closely with the Lincoln Square Farmers Market. So we do demos every other Thursday where we actually work very closely with farmers like Dotson's Farm and Stamper Cheese and Driftless Prairie Meats, where we procure some of their products, come up with a recipe and demo it at the farmers market. By meeting these different farmers through the farmers markets, we were actually able to develop classes with them. So Driftless Prairie, who is a beef farmer, they are collaborating with us to create this really awesome how to cook meat class and working with different cuts of beef to showcase different techniques and also showcase their farm. We also have a mushroom class coming up where we've partnered with Windy City Mushrooms to create this wonderful vegan, vegetarian menu, learning all about the different kinds of mushrooms that they grow.
That's great. I just had another thought. In addition to cooking classes, tell us again what days you are teaching the cooking classes.
Generally from Wednesday through Saturday, they're usually night classes from 6 to 8, but then Friday and Saturday we do offer morning classes as well.
Oh, nice. Okay. For all those folks working from home on Fridays.
Exactly.
Okay, so when you're not teaching classes, thanks for that. I forgot which days you're teaching classes. You also offer corporate and private classes, corporate events. When and why did this occur in addition to the cooking classes, which have gone on for years?
Well, we found that nothing brings people together more than food and drink. And, with especially holiday seasons, everybody wants to celebrate with their staff. So, during the fourth quarter is one of our busiest times with corporate and social events where, when we had our second location, the Merchandise Mart, it was a huge event venue space that it was such a great sector of our business. So now that we are only in Lincoln Square, we're finding that that kind of business has changed a little bit as far as volume, but it hasn't stopped. And realistically, our event business is probably our biggest sector of our chopping block.
Oh, that's interesting. So for other listeners today, perhaps like restaurateurs on the call today or listening down the road on YouTube, can you just talk us through that business planning and when you decided, should I go into corporate kind of events, private parties, or like how do you take that plunge? And then how did you realize, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did, because this is now a big part of my profit center, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it was a natural progression from teaching one-off classes, just being able to hit a wider audience, have it be a little more social compared to a little more intensive learning. And so when we decided to kind of shift and do that simultaneously, because we're able to host more guests compared to classes, it really does just help with the bottom line, and the profit margin is a little better because it tends to be, different compared to actual classes.
Yeah, exactly. Now I also know that there are classes and culinary boot camps for kids, for children. Can you explain the importance of having kids involved in cooking at an early age? And was this to inspire future chefs? And also just give us a little bit of a breakdown the age group for the children.
Yes, summertime is another really busy time for us because that is when we offer all of our kids and teens classes. Our kids, we start from 7 to 11, and our teens, we run 12 through 17. We're actually developing a more intensive older teen boot camp this year for, those teens who are going off to college and really focusing on, a step above those techniques we've been teaching throughout the past years. And what we really found is, kids just absorb, right? And they're so excited to be able to see something form in front of them and be able to replicate what they've seen on TV. And it's just such an important life skill that if you can start them young, they learn knife safety, they learn how to use their knife properly, they learn how to work on a stovetop safely, but they're learning to be able to take care of themselves. So when they do leave home or when they are, older, they can be healthier. Home cooking is definitely healthier than takeout all the time. It tends to be cheaper. So we want to give everybody that skill and start them as young as we can.
Yeah, what age group, what age would you say is maybe teens in high school, and when you kind of see the light bulb click in a young person, like, oh, I may actually want to do this like as my career, as my living. I may want to go on a culinary school. Like, what age would you let our listeners know that that kind of happens?
I think it's different for a lot of people, but I think definitely when teens start thinking about college, so I'd say probably in the 16 or 15 range, when they're starting to think about their future, I think that's when the light bulb clicks like, oh, this is more than just a fun habit. I can make a career out of this. And we are very fortunate to have partnered with the Foundation for Culinary Arts, who works with a lot of the Chicago public schools and underserved areas to teach these teens how to get into the industry and give them all of the cooking skills that they'll need.
Now, earlier in the conversation, you mentioned the original store uh, by Shelley Young back on Webster also sold cooking pots and pans. What do you want? What's the word I'm looking for? Cooking wares.
Yeah.
Does your place Lincoln Square also sell cooking equipment and wares?
Yes, we do.
And
Basically everything that we sell in our retail store, we use in our classes. So it's a really great way to discuss why do we use this kind of pot and pan? And then if they so choose, they can go buy that pot or pan. So we carry a lot of Le Creuset, Dutch ovens and braziers. We carry a really great stainless steel line called Heston, but all the tools and utensils that you need to be, a more active home cook. We sell that everything from whisks to spatulas to juicers and things like that.
that's
And
great.
oh, I'm so sorry. A lot of our retail is also our wine list. So we have a very extensive wine list.
Um, and how do you select your product vendors? And we talked about your food vendors, but how about the actual product vendors?
So I work with my general manager to figure out, what really is important that the home cook might need or utilize. And when we're looking at vendors, we really look at quality. Um, when we started carrying retail, even before I started, I know our founder had very close relationships with, our Le Creuset reps and things like that. So we are definitely loyal to that brand because it does stand the test of time, just like our business. And because we use them in our kitchens, we're very proud to sell them.
So let's talk about the year and the seasons and when is your busiest time of year? I bet you have a really good niche in January, as people are probably receiving or received during the holiday season, a gift card or um, a class or two, as well as I know, January's kind of the kickoff month. What do I want to do differently in the new year? Maybe I want to eat healthier, eat more at home, be able to cook, more elaborate meals. So tell us a little bit about your busiest time of year, or maybe you have a couple different times. Like I know you mentioned also the summer as well.
Yes, so January right now, you are exactly right. Everybody who had received gift cards for Christmas is now in the market to redeem them. So like I was saying earlier, in the fourth quarter, at the end of the year, we're very busy with private corporate events. We do also run our classes as well, but then it shifts to January in the beginning of the year, really with more cooking classes compared to private events. And like you said, people are on that health wave, so they do want to learn how to cook for themselves. And that generally takes us through the beginning of spring. Then we'll notice some private events picking up with, we do things like bachelorette parties and wedding kickoffs and things like that. But then summer is another really busy time because we run those kids and teens camps all summer long from June through August. And those are Monday through Friday camps. So that keeps us very busy as well.
You have
But then
that.
we also have another kitchen. I'm so sorry.
That's
We
okay.
have two indoor kitchens at Lincoln Square. So we have a first floor kitchen and a second floor kitchen. So we can have multiple classes going on at the same time. But during the summer, we also have our grilling patio where we do some grilling classes outdoors.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I was also wondering, like, I was thinking the summer, we got the farmer's market, and like just even a class like how to make the perfect picnic basket if you're gonna go down to a concert at Millennium Park or out to the lakefront or a movie in the park, that type of thing.
That's a great idea. I'm going to have to develop that for this year.
That's fine. Um, so is your business, I'm sorry, so it's kind of going back just to the seasons. Does your business kind of ebb and flow? And then I guess also perhaps even the menu, right? Because you maybe in the winter you're doing like a heavy stock soup, and maybe in the summer you're doing your colder gazpacho type soup.
Exactly. Like I said, we like to keep it very seasonal. As soon as it gets cold, we do a lot of soups and stews and heartier meals using a lot of root vegetables that are in season. And then, yes, come summertime, it is those fresh ratatouilles and grilled vegetables and lighter soups and salads and things like that. Um, you know, our business does ebb and flow in certain ways. What I've noticed a lot is that the holidays play a lot into our business. For example, 4th of July, depending on what dates holidays fall on, that can really, mess with how many people want to come to class that weekend, or things like Labor Day, or even during September when people, I just went on vacation, so I'm not spending money right now. I don't have disposable income for a cooking class. So that's where we really see a decline, is right around certain holidays and things like that.
Now, do you have a little uptick in how do I prepare my sweetie's favorite Valentine's Day dinner?
Oh, we are actually really busy for Valentine's. We have everything from a chocolate boot camp to prepare some really succulent sweets, but we also have some really stellar fine dining-esque menus for the perfect Valentine's Day date night. We're
That's
doing
great.
wonderful menus.
So for the slower times of the year, what do you do in terms of marketing, social media to kind of help pick it up? And while we're going down that path, just tell us a little bit how social media has changed the way you promote your business in this day and age.
Oh, definitely. We, most of our marketing really is a referral-based system. We really pride ourselves on giving the best customer service out there. And when people really enjoy themselves, they, tell other people. So even during classes, we heavily rely on people taking pictures and tagging us and showing what a great time they're having. And then we're able to repost that. And social media in general, we have a wonderful website that is a wealth of information. And so we have a blog on that website. So we like to promote all of our blog pictures on our social media in order to draw traffic to our website. And it's all very, goes hand in hand with how to get people to our website to get the information they need to. Everything from our videos on YouTube are posted there. We have a wonderful Facebook private group that is just a home for foodies, that you always have access to a chef. We answer within 24 hours if you have a cooking emergency or a random question, or you saw something online and you're like, how do I do this? We can help if you post it on our Facebook page.
That's great. And do you have a team that helps you with your social media and video production? Watch, just for those listening or trying to get more involved into a media marketing strategy, social media strategy. Tell them a couple of thoughts about that.
You know, I am fortunate to have a wonderful marketing manager who takes care of all of that. You know, as a small business owner, it can be very hard to know where to spend those dollars and how to spend them. And this day and age in social media, it can get quite pricey. Um, but it really is an important part of marketing, and really what I found the most is people love those behind the scenes or real, you know, posts, and that's what gets the most traction. So um, just know that you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money to get your name out there on social media.
That's
Day
great.
to day is just as interesting as those perfect pictures.
Yeah. BACP partnerships with over 70 neighborhood business development centers, such as your local chambers of commerce. Have you ever worked with any of the chambers or MBDCs? And if so, which center and how was it able to help you grow your business, promote your business, and the value of that partnership?
Oh, yes, I can't speak any more highly of the Lincoln Square Ravenswood Chamber of Commerce. We work really closely together, you know, with the farmers markets that I was mentioning earlier. It's because of them that we have our foot in the door with those demos, and they really help create those partnerships with the farms. Um, they have such a wide reach on their own website and newsletter that they always promote our classes or specific things that are going on in the neighborhood, how we can help them. For example, we participate in a wine stroll put on by the Lincoln Square Ravenswood Chamber of Commerce, and they really do a great job of just creating a home for all the small businesses in our area. And I've got to say, Lincoln Square is probably the best, if I'm being biased. Small little neighborhood in Chicago. We're just so homey. Everything from our tree lighting ceremony in the square that gets all the small business owners together to our biggest um, fest of the season, which is Apple Fest and their Square Root Fest, that they really try to get everybody's name out there and help them as much as possible. So I've become very close with our Lincoln Square Ravenswood Chamber of Commerce people.
That's great. No, that's great. I mean, all of our communities have such great and powerful chambers, and I think they're important for all the small businesses, particularly along those commercial corridors. Um, Also another way to just promote each individual business. Let's transition a little bit. Is there a trend right now by the consumer, by the customers, as to a meal or dish that they are wanting to learn how to make? And I don't know if that changes year after year. I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of a hard question to ask. We've run so many different kinds of classes, and we value feedback and take it very seriously. People will email us like, "Hey, you should do this kind of class," and we listen and we try to put it on. You know, from doing those more niche classes, we do gluten-free and vegan classes and those vegetarian classes and things like that. People asked and we listened. If we can execute it to the best of our ability, we will try to put it on there. And I think that just changes. Everybody, you know, looks to our class variety and tries to find something that fits them. But
Yeah.
that's a
How
really
about you,
good
how about for
question.
yourself? What's your favorite meal or dish to create for others?
Personally, when I'm not at work, my favorite thing to make for other people is lasagna.
Oh,
It's just from my Italian roots. I love homemade pasta dough. I love making different sauces and different fillings and changing it up depending on how I feel. But that's probably my favorite meal. But I'd say at the chopping block, my favorite class to teach ever is probably our gnocchi class.
oh
You know,
wow, yeah,
yeah,
also.
it's a really fun class to teach, and not a lot of people have made gnocchi from scratch, so it's fun.
Yeah, that's great. Um, so I know we talked a lot about wine and wine pairing with the meals. I'm gonna let you elaborate a little bit on that, but also, kind of a thing that's picked up over the last couple of years is sort of a dry January. And I was wondering if you kind of like take on mock cocktails or just kind of how you incorporate that for the month of January.
That's a great question. So with all of our classes, you purchase the class online or in person. And when you come into that class, you are more than welcome to purchase wine to enjoy while you are cooking and while you're eating. But you can always purchase wine to take with you as well. Our sommelier and I really do taste a lot of different wines to really make sure that it pairs accurately with food. We pride ourselves on being able to teach that component of it as well. So there's never going to be anything, too sweet that would overpower any specific menu. And there's a little something for everybody to enjoy. As far as mocktails go, with our private event packages in particular, we don't have a specific class for mocktails, but there are options to add those to your private events if you want to.
Okay, I like that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we have developed one in the past that it just unfortunately didn't get that much enrollment. So, we try just about everything to see if it works. But if I could have more enrollment, I'd be more than happy to put it on the calendar.
Okay, so when you're not running your business, what do you do to relax?
Oh, wow. Well, as we kind of discussed before, running your own business, sometimes you don't really get much time to relax, and that's okay. But when I am relaxing, I have two beautiful bulldogs and a wonderful husband that we just really like to hang out around the house, watch movies and TV. And quite honestly, I cook a lot at home too. So I actually cook to unwind, and that's what I like to do.
That's great. I mean, that means that's really your passion, that actually you're doing what you do for a living at home to relax. So you can't get any better than that. As this webinar is entitled Empower Hour, please share a piece of advice that can empower our attendees today.
Well, one thing I've learned in this transitional period of me taking over this business is, as hard as it is for most egos, just know that you don't always have to know everything or have all the answers in order to move forward. I am always learning every single day what we can do better or how we can grow, or just learning who to reach out to for that answer. And that was very daunting at first. Like, I felt I need to know everything. How are we going to succeed if I don't? But I think just trusting the process of learning and getting there, you will get there. And I'm slowly getting there.
And probably also you must have a little bit of a knack for improvising too. Like if the food vendor doesn't deliver exactly what you're hoping for, whatever arrives is like not to your quality standards, or you're going to work and the dishwasher is overflowing, there has to be a little bit of that in your, and I got 10 people arriving at any moment to learn.
Have you been spying on our business? All of those things have happened. And yeah, as a business owner, or just, even as a, worker, you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to think on the fly and come up with solutions and try not to panic, right? So when our dishwasher was overflowing, you turn the water off and you hand wash, right? And then you come back and you fix the problem. So it always does help to have that little bit of flexibility and be able to think on your feet to succeed.
So for those, now that you've inspired to either cook or perhaps take a cooking class, can you please provide us your website, social media, maybe your address where you're located?
Of course. So you can find all of our cooking class offerings and our blog and everything on our website, www.thechoppingblock.com, which can direct you to all of our social media. But our most popular is our Facebook, if you search for The Chopping Block, and Instagram, which is _chopping_block. There are quite a few other chopping block names out there. So we are the black logo with the white letters. We are located at 4747 North Lincoln Avenue in Lincoln Square, right across from Jean's. And yeah.
That's good. That's good. Can you stay a little bit longer, Lisa, and we'll take some questions from our audience
I'd love to.
at time. Marty, how we looking?
Awesome. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, sir.
Great, great. Yeah, we've got a lot of great questions. A few good afternoons, great info, things like that. And I'll start with the first question. Can you speak to meals on a cultural basis? Like you mentioned earlier, you do different seasonal things. Do you do anything on a cultural basis?
Yes, we do. We have everything from Asian boot camps, which really depicts all the different areas within Asia to really hone in on different flavors and ingredients. And we pride ourselves on making that more approachable. We have things like an Indian vegetarian class, and we speak to the origins of certain, meals and traditional kinds of food items, just to give that rich history of where did this come from. Things like dumplings. What is a dumpling? Every single country has their own version of a dumpling. So we have a dumplings around the world class that we speak to all of the different ingredients, their origin, and how it came to be.
Awesome. Second question from Terry, will your classes for young people, will your classes benefit young people who desire to go into business? If yes, how?
So I would say that our classes for young people won't necessarily inspire them to go into business. Maybe it would inspire them to go into the culinary field in some way, shape, or form, whether that eventually leads to owning their own restaurant or, the hospitality and culinary industry is so wide reaching and there's so many different outlets for these skills to translate into. Even from working at McDonald's to working to a fine dining restaurant, there's always something to be learned. And you can take those skills just about anywhere, from the patience it takes to teach somebody something new, or the time and the speed or the accuracy. Those skills translate to all sorts of different jobs outside of the culinary industry. So my hope is that teaching kids to cook and learning this life skill, they'll learn how to work well with others because we work in groups. They learn how to treat people with respect, which will carry them through life in general.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's really great. Next up, um, do you provide certificates after classes?
Well, that's a great question. So for our regular classes, which tend to be a little more social and kind of one-off classes, we don't offer any certificates. But for our culinary boot camp series, because it is a very intensive series and you complete 40 hours with the chopping block, we do offer certificates of completion. But we are not technically a certified school, if that makes sense. You're not getting a degree by coming.
Thank you. Next up, can you share some best practices for connecting classes and selling products to drive traffic to your business?
Ooh, great question. Our hope is with our retail sector, I never ask any of my staff to be pushy. We carry what we carry because we believe in it and we actually use it. And I think by using it in the kitchens, we're able to speak honestly to those products. So I think it really does go hand in hand. You learn how to use it, you want to go buy it. That really helps drive sales. But our retail floor is open to the public just on a walk-in basis. And I think that people just coming in, whether they're looking for something in particular or they don't know what they're looking for, we are always there to help teach and educate about the products and what they are and if it applies to them in their own home kitchen.
Great, thank you. I'm curious, what is like the big difference between, say, like a $20 stainless steel pot and like a $200, stainless steel pot or pan? Like, can you kind of explain that if there's an easy answer?
Without getting into the full mechanics of steel and metalwork, the basic answer would just be construction. When you are buying a cheaper pan, it is not constructed in the same way as a $200 pan, meaning it might be lesser quality of metal or just not a lot of layers to conduct the heat or have an aluminum center. There's a lot that goes into that compared to that really expensive pan that really has features like a rolled edge in order to make it cleaned better, hidden rivets to make it clean better and not start to warp or, fray apart. There's different layers of metal in the bottom in order for it to conduct heat better and to not have hot spots. But to there, I say everybody has a budget that realistically, you don't need to spend that $200. You can spend the less amount of money because to me, as long as you know how to cook food properly, you can use whatever you've got. And I stand by that statement, but just know it may not last as long, and that's okay too.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
now I think it's clear we've got some entrepreneurs in this Q&A. So I guess, you can answer this to the best of your comfort level, but the question is, can you provide a cost structure for a class? For instance, for a $60 class, how much are materials and then how much would be given to the instructor?
Let me see if I understand. I'm not exactly sure if I understand that how much would be given to the instructor. So how we kind of operate is we mainly come up with pricing for our classes. To cover cost of food is big, but things like our regular overhead play into that. But I also do pay all of my staff a livable wage. And so that all plays into it. So all of my staff gets paid on an hourly basis. And our class structure pricing is based on, what kind of food is in that class. For example, a surf and turf with 2 proteins is going to be higher than our knife skills where there are no proteins. So that's the main basis of our class costing structure, mainly food based, but also being able to have enough left over to pay everybody. And we actually have adopted the service fee format as well. And that just helps cover all of the rest of the costs as well. And we've gone back and forth as well as all of Chicago about how service fees, some people love them, some people hate them, but they really do help small businesses, in my opinion, be able to cover all costs.
Awesome. Thank you. And then, a few just more great webinar. Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. We always love to get those. Next question. How did you find your staff? Do you require any particular skills or personality testing?
Great question. Way back in the day in restaurants, and some people still do have this where we would stage. You would go in and have a working interview. It was an unpaid, let's test your skills out. But at the chopping block, we have a very thorough interview process, as far as, just a standard interview, but we also have chef demos where we just ask our applicants to, create a simple recipe that we provide just so we can see if they can teach, if they can, answer rapid fire questions being thrown at you while you're demonstrating how to cook something. Because there are really, really great chefs who can cook anything masterfully. And there are really great teachers who can teach. But it's really hard to find that diamond in the rough that can do both and be successful. So we really do try to kind of see what somebody can bring to the chopping block through that demo. But usually, as far as just looking at resumes for this kind of chef instructor position, I do look for well-rounded restaurant experience. I look for, management experience, because even if you are just a chef instructor teaching a class, that's managing a room of 20 people. So can you herd the cats, as they say, and get them to listen and do what needs to be done to complete the class? So a lot of those things play into finding a really great chef instructor.
Awesome, thank you. I missed the next question. I missed if you took over this business from a family member or not, but regardless, can you reflect on being a longtime staff member to then becoming owner?
Yes, I reflect on that a lot, actually. So that's a very great question. I actually took over the business from our founder, Shelley Young. So not a family member, but I do consider her very, very close. She was a wonderful mentor to me throughout my career here. And that transition of, I was and am the executive chef. So I was in this management position already, but even that next level ownership kind of changes some dynamics a little bit. So, I'd like to think that, business as usual, nothing has really changed, but I think deep down, I'm just trying to stay true to myself into the chopping block. And I just try to treat everybody with the respect that they deserve. And if I work hard for them, they'll work hard for me. It's kind of my mentality. And so I am really building a wonderfully tight-knit staff that, even though I am the owner, they can come to me, they can ask me things. It's not a fearful type of environment. And that's really what I want to harbor in the chopping block.
Very cool. Latasha was just on your website and a lot of your classes are sold out and she loves that. What a great
Well,
sign.
I know. I appreciate you going to the website, where every time things sell out, I try to put more and more on there. But yeah, I'm really, really fortunate that right now we are on an uptick, and I really hope that for those of you on the call, you check out our classes sometime. I would really love to have you.
Can you just repeat the URL for the website?
Yes, it's www.thechoppingblock.com.
Great. And and there's like a contact section on there, I assume.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. That's the easiest way to get in touch with our general manager, who can take care of events or general inquiries. There's all sorts of tabs. There's a direct boot camp tab on the website if you want more information about what that entails. There's the class calendar. There's the blog tab. Everything is right there.
Awesome. Do you have any favorite TV or YouTube chef that you watch?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, we have a bunch of YouTube videos, shameless plug. So you can find us at Chopping Block on YouTube.
How many are on it?
But I'd say personally, um, you know, I'm a big fan of watching Chopped. I really love just that show in general. So that's probably what I watch the most as far as cooking shows. But I'll be honest, I'm kind of the worst person to ask that, because I don't watch too many of those cooking videos. Um, Not because I don't like them. I just, that's the one thing I just don't find time for as much, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. Chopped is great though. It's a lot. It's yeah, a lot of energy on that show.
Yeah.
Just I only see one more so far. So if anyone else has questions, now's the time to get them in. Um, does Chopping Block operate as a for-profit or non-for-profit?
We are a for-profit.
All right, thank you, Marty, and thank you, Lisa, for taking the time to answer some great questions. That was a great exchange between our listeners and Marty and you, so I appreciate that. Thank all of our attendees for joining today's Empower Hour. You can watch today's Empower Hour on your YouTube channel by visiting youtube.com/Chicago BACP. For more information on our next Empower Hour, please visit chicago.com/business education. So I want to wish again everyone a very happy new year. Thank you, Lisa. I think some of us are now hungry after this great Empower Hour, and very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next month.
Everybody.